Hi, this is Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles coming at you with another collectible review. And this time we're taking a look at the Friday the 13th Part 3 Jason Voorhees Mask Prop Replica. And this is from NECA Toys from 2016. So the first thing we're going to do is take a closer look at the packaging. So taking a look at the packaging, pretty standard packaging. I mean, it's just like the other mask from Part 5 and also from Part 4 if you've seen that one. Looks pretty good. It's got a really nice picture of the mask. I mean, you can see it looks great. It says, you know, Friday the 13th, this is not a toy. Jason Mask Prop Replica, seen in Friday the 13th Part 3, which was originally entitled, you know, Friday the 13th Part 3D. And it's also from NECA Toys and Real Toys, and it's age 17 and up. It definitely says this is not a toy. They say that, you know, a couple of spots on the packaging. So, I mean, it's definitely more of a collectible. As we go on to the side, it's got a picture of Jason. This is actually more from the remake, not from Part 3. So, you know, it's just they chose a different version. But this is kind of like the promotional photos from the remake of Friday the 13th. But this mask is from the Part 3. The same thing on the other side, on the top. Just another picture of mask, Jason Mask Prop Replica, pretty standard. And then as we go on the back, you can just see the mask, which looks pretty cool. It's got a NECA sticker on the back, but it's hard to see. It's covered by the strap. But pretty nice, but I mean, you know, most importantly is let's get this guy opened up. Replica mask out of the package. Fantastic looking mask. I mean, this is a great mask from NECA. Now, is this 100% movie accurate? No. It's very close. I mean, as far as you're going to get, I would probably put this, you know, if you have the cheap masks, like the scale, this is probably in the middle as far as a replica mask. I mean, it's something you definitely can wear. It's much better than the cheap stuff, which I'll show one at the end, but it's not as good as some of the high-grade stuff. The main thing with this, I mean, the overall detail looks great. They did a great job with like the brush detailing to make it look like he's got some worn spots. All the holes look, they have dirt coming down. The eyes, like they're been scratched with the dirt. There's like a dark spot up here. There's like red going into the side on the right side. I mean, everything looks great. The chevrons are done really nice. I wish they would have been decals. They're actually painted, and you can actually see where they like kind of like cut in with a sculpting knife or a razor blade, and then they painted in that, so they don't look super great, as good as they can. It looks pretty good on camera, but if you zoom in, they don't look as good. They would have been much better as a decal. And the other thing with this is you also see a lot of these masks, you know, vary in painting quite a bit with the chevrons, where they'll look like garbage, as well as all the detail as far as, you know, the weathering. Every single mask is different. So with some of the real high-end collectible ones, you'll see them where they painted them down to every little detail, and they have like 1 or 2 or 3 different versions of that mask from each part of the movie. There's no way to really pinpoint where this is. This is kind of just a generic version of that mask. Now, that being said, it looks great. Now, this is, you know, a smaller mask than the Part 5 mask. It's also, you know, the Part 3 was actually kind of squished more and a little bit longer. This one, you know, you get that look to it when you look at it, but it's not as thin and as long as it probably really should be. But, you know, they painted the little clips on the bottom, which looks really good, and each one of these straps has a clip that can come off. These are just metal painted up here, and the other ones are you know, the painted with the mask color, which a lot of people don't like. It's yellow. It definitely seems a lot, you know, yellow, but when you look through it on the camera, everything looks good. And when you actually have it on, it feels right when you really watch the movie. I mean, maybe if they would have sprayed it with like a high gloss spray or something to give it more of a little bit of a shine, I think it would have been more, you know, movie accurate. But overall, really, really nice. But my biggest problem with this mask, in all honesty, is just, you know, everything on the front on this mask looks great. I mean, I ordered this on the internet. I didn't get to pick mine out. So, you know, sometimes you can kind of take a look at the ones on the shelf, see which one looks better. Is the back is where there's kind of some weirdness on it, and it's actually in these little the little holes, and they're actually, you can see where they're punched, like where they were trying to cut the mask and they did a good job, so they stopped. And I'll zoom in that a little bit later, and that looks kind of funky. They didn't push in too hard where it looks like anything's going to break, but it definitely looks really, really weird. Now, the other thing with this mask is this is not a plastic mask. This is not like a cheap plastic mask. This is somewhere between like a resin and a plastic. It's actually really hard. It's very hard, and it's actually to the point where if you were to drop this, I would assume it's going to crack. I've seen people have cracking problems with the Freddy vs. Jason NECA mask. I don't know if they changed the formula of how they make it, but this definitely, if you were wearing this on your head and it flew off your head and it fell straight to the ground, not touching anything on the way down, it would probably crack. I would almost assume that, just by what it's made out of. But I mean, it's very thick. I mean, I'll zoom in a little bit later in these little holes. It's a very thick mask, just as thick as the Part 5 mask. But let's take a closer look. Here we have that top chevron. You can definitely see how it's like painted in, and there's like the little line here. But overall, you can see like the detailing in the nose on the top, and then the eyes, the way they brush it, it definitely looks like it's been weathered and damaged and dirty, and I think they did a great job with that. I mean, it's top-notch painting. All right, and here you can see the, you know, the bottom holes in the hockey mask. This is under his nose, and you can see how they have the dirt like trickling down. I mean, I think they did a great job with this. I mean, you can see how the thickness right here, how thick the actual the mask is. I mean, overall detail looks great on this guy. Here's a closer look at one of the chevrons. You can actually see the lines that they actually, you know, cut in there and, you know, tried to paint into that, which is kind of unfortunate. I didn't like that they did that. It's kind of cheap looking, but as we zoom out, you can really see the detail. The detail just looks stunning the way they did this guy. Here we have one of the bottom clips, and you can see how they painted it. It's not really painted super great. Like if you were to clip something on it or rub it, the paint would definitely come off. But they painted it to the color of the mask. I believe that is movie accurate, if I'm not mistaken. I did just see these movies, but I wasn't looking at the mask incredibly well. Here we have the forehead, and you can see some more of the detail. You can see the scratches they brushed in and stuff. There's like a big chunk up here that's grayed. I mean, overall, I think they did a great job with this. I mean, I think, you know, it's like I said, it's not movie accurate, but it looks good. Everything looks good. I mean, even the color looks close. I love the scratches. The marks on this guy just look great. I mean, it doesn't look forced and brushed. I think the Part 5 mask had a little bit too much dirt, grit, and grime on him compared to what it was supposed to be in the movie, but that still was a great mask, but I mean, I think that this one is just much, much better. And taking a look on the right, which is actually the left side of the mask, you can see how they have almost like a redding shading, like it's been gripped or handled with blood, like somebody grabbed it with blood. I mean, it's just such a crazy looking look to it. I just think they did a great job overall. You know, for like a $35, you know, prop replica, I mean, this is not going to break the bank, and you're still getting something that's pretty amazing. Here we kind of have it from a side angle. You can definitely see that iconic look to it. I mean, this mask is much more iconic in shape and look than that Part 5 mask, and it just looks great as we go on the side. I mean, just what an amazing looking mask. Getting onto the back, you just see it's just, you know, elastic strap. Is adjustable on the top, so it does fit. It can fit you pretty well. You know, from big to little heads, you make it smaller or larger. So I mean, this would be good if you're going to wear it as a costume. You could do that, and you could actually have a hood type mask or rubber mask, you know, under this, and it would do really well. Here we have that NECA sticker. It's kind of off at an angle. Definitely looked like it was rushed. That is actually a sticker. I'm sure you could pull this off. It's just like a clear plastic that goes in, just that's why it's not the exact color of the mask. It's just clear plastic, but looks pretty good. You know, like I said, it just looks rushed on and smashed on. And here you can see kind of what I'm talking about, like the rushed stamping of the mask where they're trying to cut in the holes in it. You could obviously see they are pressing it into a press or something, because you can see where they look like they tried to stamp it and it was off. It's every single hole pretty much on basically the bottom half of the mask and a little bit on the upper half. The good news is that it's not like it's really deep. It's just pressed in just barely. I mean, so you don't have to worry about stuff like cracking off. But it's kind of unfortunate, you know, when you see that. I mean, it just looks really bad. I mean, thank God it doesn't show on the front side of the mask, because then we'd have some serious trouble. And for size comparison, here we have this is the NECA Part 3 mask on the right, and we have one of those super cheap, like, you know, $8 or less hockey masks on the left. Now, there's really cheap ones you can get for 98 cents. This is a more higher end cheap version, so it's got like a textured, like the way they painted it to make it look yellowish. I don't know if it's showing as much on there, but the chevrons are painted really poorly. And you can definitely see when you look at these two masks, this is more of the, I would almost give this more of a kind of Part 6 to Part 8 shape mask. And as you look at this one, like I said, this one isn't as thin or as long as it should be. You can definitely see it's thinner and more has that Part 3 look to it, so it looks great. You can see that the coloring is way better on this mask. You can also see that the chevrons, you know, now not being amazing, not being decals, just look night and day compared to this mask. So when it comes to these masks, you have a $30 mask, you know, $30 to $40. You have a $8, and so I've seen some people sell these cheap ones up to $20, which is just, it's highway robbery. And they have all kinds of different versions of this mask, black, gold, all kinds of stuff, where they try and paint them like Freddy vs. Jason. But this is just the run-of-the-mill stuff, and you can really see that this NECA mask is worth the price. It's not a high-end mask, but when you look at this, I mean, you look at high-end masks, you're looking at paying around $200 or a little less, somewhere around $175, $185, what I've seen from like fiberglassmask.com. I think this is a great option. I mean, it's not 100% movie accurate, but I think that you're definitely getting what, you know, you paid for. It's wearable, even though it's heavier than like a plastic mask. It's definitely heavy because of this type of plastic. I think it's doable to wear this guy. Alright, and finally for size comparison, here we have both the NECA mask, the Part 5 on the left, the Part 3 on the right. You can definitely see how good they look together. Like I said, these are middle of the ground collectibles, so you're paying about $40 for these guys. You know, regular price. Some people try and buy them and sell them for ridiculous amounts of money. I don't think they're worth over $100 or more, but I mean, there's definitely a great mask. They have their flaws. They're not as movie accurate as the high-end stuff. I mean, this is just a general interpretation. It's not really, you know, how they were at specific parts in the movie. If you want something like that, go to fiberglassmask.com. They'll get you, you know, each movie has like 3 or 4 different mask versions from different parts of the movies. It actually tells you, you know, from the propeller scene or from this or from the gunshot. I mean, they show, you know, and they have different versions of that. If you really want some high-end stuff, but you're looking at about $175 to $200 to get something like that. And I think for this price, you're getting a very good representation of the mask. You see the Part 5 is very big, very wide, like egg-like, like jumbo egg. The Part 3 is definitely more of that iconic look, that slimmer look that Part 3 and 4 had. I still think that this mask is probably too wide for what it's supposed to be. I think Part 3 should be a little bit slimmer and maybe a little bit longer. I would almost say that this is more closer to Part 4, and I'm almost assuming that they use this exact mold for the Part 4 mask for NECA, but you know, I'd have to get that to actually say. But I mean, overall, this is a amazing mask. You know, one of the first Friday the 13th movies I watched with my brother was, I believe, was part 3. And I think it was on TV, and then we started renting the whole series. And I just remember, you know, seeing that movie and certain parts of the movie, and so this mask is very iconic to me, and the axe in the head, and it's a very, you know, fond memory, and I like this version of the mask. I do prefer part 6 out of all the Jasons the best. That is my favorite movie, but part 3 and part 4 are pretty close, and I love part 3. I have a sentimental place for it because I remember a lot of that, and you know, that's like the first memories of watching Friday the 13th. But an overall great mask, you know, 35 bucks, you cannot beat this at all, especially if you're looking for something to just hang on your wall or maybe to wear for Halloween. It is heavy. It is much heavier than the cheapo mask. I mean, that resin mask is heavy, but it would look good, and it would also help if you had like one of those hoods. I think it would be good. It would fit comfortably on your head. But I'd assume it's going to get really hot because it's really heavy, and that resin is very heavy. Like I said, it's not like a cheap plastic stuff that just is malleable and stuff. I mean, very cheap. It's probably not going to breathe that well, but I mean, it looks amazing. And in all honesty, you could probably get this guy and plastic level like a layer of clear coat on it, and you'd probably, you know, make the mask look that much cooler. I think that extra clear coat would make it almost more movie accurate, you know, not in the sense of the actual damage done and the weathering, but just giving that extra little clear little look to it. I think it would really do the mask justice. But a great collectible. I'm looking forward to NECA hopefully making much more of these. You know, we will have to see. You know, if they're going to do other versions. I know they have the Nintendo Retro one and the Part 4, and then an earlier version of, what is it, the Freddy vs. Jason, and they might have a remake one. I don't know if NECA made that, but, you know, great looking masks, and I hope they keep on pumping them out. And once again, this has been Jason with Violator Comics Collectibles. Any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and I'll see you guys next time.